Let's imagine a time when the Earth breathed in total silence, a world without a single human voice, where life flourished in ways we can barely even comprehend. Today, we're going to take a trip back 66 million years to witness the absolute final day of that world. And we're going to see how its catastrophic end was, unbelievably, our beginning.
You know, this quote from our source material it hits perfectly. It really captures the epic scale of what was lost. We're not just talking about a bunch of animals dying. We are talking about the end of a perfect, ferocious, and incredibly balanced world.
Okay, so before we get to the catastrophe, we really have to paint a picture of what the world was like right before it all went down. So let's set the scene. The late Cretaceous period. And forget any ideas of some dusty, primitive landscape. No, this was a planet at its absolute peak. I mean, we're talking about an age of giants, of absolute colossi. Creatures so huge they almost seem mythological. The forests were these vast, endless seas of green. The oceans were just teeming with life. In the air itself, it felt like it was thrumming with this ancient, raw power. It was a world perfected in its own kind of savage harmony. And this is where it gets really cool, right? The cast of characters. You've got the undisputed king, T-Rex, just tons of pure predatory instinct. You've got vast herds of triceratops. In the skies, you have pterosaurs with wingspans like small airplanes. And the seas? Well, the seas were hiding monsters that would give us nightmares for a lifetime. But then, down in the shadows, hidden away from all of it, tiny little mammals. Yep, our ancestors, just waiting for a future they couldn't possibly imagine was coming.
And here's the thing you have to understand. It all worked. It was a perfect system. Every single creature had its role. The herbivores grazed, the carnivores hunted. The seasons turned like clockwork. It was this self-sustaining engine of pure, untamed power. And not a single one of them had any idea that every breath, every heartbeat, was among the very last in that world.
But of course, while all this life was just thriving on Earth, a silent, inevitable fate was already on a collision course, hurtling through the absolute blackness of space.
And this timeline, it just lays out this silent, unstoppable countdown. For millions and millions of years, this rock was just out there, invisible, silent. It crosses the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, and then Earth's gravity grabs it, pulls it in. Faster and faster it comes. By the time it screams past the moon, it's not a cold rock anymore. It's a glowing orb of pure doom.
Okay, 10 kilometers. To put that in perspective, that's about the height of Mount Everest. Now just imagine a mountain, a literal mountain, ripped from space, screaming towards our completely unsuspecting planet. That is the sheer scale of the weapon that fate was about to use.
And boom. This is it. This is the moment everything changes. In the span of just a few heartbeats, millions of years of evolution are about to be wiped out in a violent, fiery end. The dinosaurs below, they're just living out their last sunrise, completely and totally unaware.
I love how the source material puts it. This wasn't a sound you could hear. No, it was bigger than sound itself. It was a flash of light so blindingly bright, it was like a second sun igniting in the sky, completely erasing the real one. For just one moment, time, it just stopped.
So get this, 70,000 kilometers per hour. That's how fast it hit the atmosphere. I mean, that's so ridiculously fast that the air itself became like a solid wall, compressing and superheating the asteroid until it became a fireball before it even hit the ground.
And the power? 100 million megatons. Just let that number sink in. That is a force so far beyond any weapon humanity has ever even dreamed of, let alone built. And all of that destructive energy was delivered in a single catastrophic instant.
The impact was total, just absolute. The rock of the planet's crust literally buckled and folded like it was paper. The ocean at the impact point didn't make a wave, it vaporized. It exploded upwards. A shockwave of pure heat ripped across the continents, and the very air around the globe just ignited. But believe it or not, the impact itself, that was just the first few seconds of the horror. The immediate aftermath plunged the entire planet into a literal inferno. This wasn't some local disaster. This was global. And this next part is maybe one of the most horrifying things I can imagine. All the rock and debris that was blasted out from the impact, it didn't just go away. It was launched up into space, it arced over the globe, and then it rained back down. Everywhere. The sky itself turned on the planet, unleashing this hours-long, continuous meteor shower of red-hot rock.
1,000 degrees Celsius. That was the temperature on the surface of the planet. I mean, that rain of fire essentially turned the entire globe into an oven. Forests, jungles, plains, they didn't just catch fire, they were instantly incinerated. There was simply nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. And this is the evidence, the scar it left behind. The Chicxulub crater, which is hidden today under the Yucatan Peninsula, is over 180 kilometers wide. It's a permanent wound carved deep into the Earth's crust, a tombstone for an entire world.
So, okay, what if you somehow survived that? What if you were in a deep burrow, or maybe deep in the ocean? Well, the horror was just getting started. Because after the fire came a new, much quieter, but even deadlier killer, the cold.
Yeah, this chart really sums it up perfectly. The planet swung from one lethal extreme to the complete opposite. All that dust and soot that had superheated the atmosphere on the way down now just hung there for years. It blocked out the sun, and the world went from being a furnace to a frozen, dark tomb.
So in this endless, freezing twilight, photosynthesis just stopped. And that meant the plants died. And then the herbivores that ate the plants, they starved. And finally, the great predators like the T-Rex, they followed. It wasn't quick. It was a slow, agonizing slide into oblivion on a world that simply couldn't feed them anymore.
So, after all of that, the fire, the cold, the darkness, the starvation, you have to ask, right? Was that it? Was life on Earth just over? It's the most important question. Because in the deepest, darkest corners of this ruined planet, something small was still stirring.
And here's the incredible twist, the ultimate irony. This apocalyptic event wasn't just an end. It was a reset button, a violent, chaotic, and brutal creation of a new world, a world that would, one day, become ours.
It took years, decades even, but slowly, so slowly, the dust started to settle. A weak sun began to filter through the haze. The rains came and washed the world clean, and against all odds, life came back. First the ferns, then the insects, and then, crawling out from their burrows into a new world, came the mammals. The same tiny creatures that once lived in the shadows of giants now inherited a planet that had been wiped clean, almost just for them.
And that, right there, is the punchline to this whole cosmic story. The day that dinosaurs died, it wasn't the end of life on Earth. It was the violent spark that lit our own fuse. That single, terrifying moment of destruction cleared the stage, making room for a new kind of life to take over. An adaptable, intelligent life that, millions of years later, would look up at the stars and wonder how it all began.